morning, everyone. This is John with Gun.Deals. Today, we are going to be taking a quick look at the updated Primary Arms SLX NOVA with the new BDC reticle. Also in the video is the new Auto-Live battery cap to extend the battery life of your LPVOs, or at least ones that it's compatible with. Full disclosure on the Primary Arms SLX NOVA is that they did send this out to me for free. I didn't request it, it just ended up at my door one day. So here we are. The Auto-Live battery cap was sent in by a fan of the channel for review, but either way I have a relationship with Primary Arms and I'm also a dealer for their optics, so keep that in mind going forward. Now while you're here, go ahead and perform your rites to the vengeful deity known as the algorithm. Getting into some basics of the NOVA, a year or two ago Primary Arms introduced their budget LPVO with fiber optic illumination. I believe at the time it was the only $300-ish LPVO that had that feature. Since then, we've seen a few more enter the market and that feature become more popular. Getting through the basics quickly, we have a 1:6 second focal plane LPVO, 30mm main tube, length is 10.5 inches, weight is 18 ounces, turrets are capped and in 0.1 mil increments, all basic stuff, but fortunately all good as well. On the left hand side of the body, we have the illumination dial that goes all the way to 11 baby, with an offsetting as well. Talking about illumination, it is of course fiber optic. So its claim to fame is that it gets truly daylight bright, and sometimes too bright. Visually, it performs very similarly to a red dot. Great contrast, easy to pick up, etc. I usually run this on setting 6 or 7 outdoors, but even on setting 4, it's still visible. Now on my unit, I have also been testing the Auto-Live cap. That brings motion sensing, auto on and off technology to your Primary Arms LPVO. If after a couple minutes, it doesn't sense any motion, it will turn off, and when it senses motion again, it turns back on. I have been leaving it on constantly for the last several months and am still on my first 2032 battery. Indoors, I have it on setting 3 or 4, and outside I turn it up as needed. So far, the Auto-Live cap has greatly extended the battery life of my NOVA. Now, the NOVA is also more power efficient because of that fiber optic illumination, so it doesn't require the same power to achieve the same brightness. One thing to note though is the Auto-Live cap might work with some other LPVOs, but not with all of them. I had one on a SIG MSR 1:6, and it worked intermittently. So far on the Primary Arms optic, it's been great. Getting back to the optic itself, usability is fortunately good. Eye relief is like 2 to 7 inches on 1X, and about 3.5 to 4 on 6X. Eye box is also good, as most 1:6 LPVOs are. Now, field of view at 1X is rated at a whopping 120 feet at 1X. And for LPVOs, that is great, and it feels great. Please note that it also translates to the higher magnifications as well, meaning that you get more information at all of those magnification levels, which really helps out at the high end. Now, talking about glass quality, it is a $300 scope, and it is squarely in the fine category. Maybe I've just been more spoiled of late with the PLXC that I've been running, but the SLX is just fine. 1X looks pretty good, the image is bright, the clarity is fine, the image is pretty flat overall, and it's easy to shred with up close. At 6X, it looks okay. Colors are a little brown, and it's not as crisp as nicer scopes, but still usable. But again, for about $300, it's what you should expect. I have taken the previous version out to 500 yards without issue. Again, it's definitely workable, but it's not going to be top tier in terms of quality. I will say though that the Vortex Venom looks and feels a little better for about the same or even a little less money, but the Venom doesn't have the NOVA reticle. So let's go ahead and talk about what's actually new. We have the new, improved ACSS NOVA BDC reticle. Instead of the old 1 mil drops, we have a ballistic drop calculation reticle. It's not a very exciting change, but I think some people will like it, especially for the intended use case. In theory, on a 14.5 inch or 16 inch 5.56 rifle, and some 308 rifles as well, it should be easy to quickly engage targets out to 600 yards. The older mil version, you would have to know your holds a little better, but on the BDC, once you know your distance via the included auto-ranging features, or with the help of a spotter or an actual rangefinder, you simply use the corresponding hash on your BDC and pull the trigger. BDCs are by definition easy and intuitive in a way that mils and math calculations aren't. Now, if you don't want the fiber optical illumination, then the slight switch over to a BDC versus a mil isn't going to entice you much. But if you already liked the idea of a fiber optic LPVO but haven't pulled the trigger yet, maybe the BDC is the one to consider. I've used a couple of these optics extensively on everything from an 11.5 to a 20-inch auto rifle, and for the money they're very hard to beat. Again, the nice thing about the Gen 4 SLX line from Primary Arms is that they're pretty good scopes in general. It's really just up to you whether or not that fiber optic illumination and the BDC is worth it for you. Again, their other reticles are perhaps a little bit more usable at distance with real wind holds, maybe some more auto ranging features, but of course they're not going to have that daylight bright illumination. Now, if you're using this on a shorter gun, say 11.5, 12.5, something of that nature, and you're trying to keep inside of 400 yards, I think that this is a very effective way to engage, positively ID and then engage, targets at those distances like a red dot and magnifier won't. And with a 1:6, you still have a good amount of usability, if not perfect, out to say 5, 6, or even 700 yards. So for me, the BDC really isn't that exciting of a change, but I like using the Primary Arms NOVA, so taking it out again is not a problem for me. But that's about all that I got on this one, guys. So let me know what you think of the Primary Arms, SLX, NOVA, BDC in the comments down below. And with all that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace off.